Richard,
Who's there?
is no news good news, or what the heck's happening here?
Well, no news sometimes is news.
I think we're there.
You do?
Well,
Well,
yeah, like
well,
the Steelers are just going to have to draft a quarterback.
okay, maybe. So you don't think Aaron Rodgers is coming?
No.
I don't either, and I hope not. I also the problem with I have about drafting a quarterback with our current quarterback room is that the training and the mentoring would now fall into the hands of a 2-6 quarterback last year, with 8 interceptions and 8 touchdown passes, and a very mediocre quarterback at best. So and maybe people will disagree with that, but that's how I look at it. And so if it were Shadur, or if it was Knicks, or no matter who it is, they're going to, and actually, if I were a quarterback coming in through the draft, I would love to be in this year's draft. I would love to be drafted by the Pittsburgh Steelers because I think I could start.
I think I'd definitely be the future. You're right about that. Shadur Sanders is now coming to Pittsburgh to meet with the Steelers.
Yeah, I saw that.
Which is interesting. Now, one part that is worrisome to some people, I think is definitely a topic, is the influence of his father on his career. And because he's not going to sit idly by, he's going to want to have an active role in that.
Well, guess what?
Yes.
It's worked for them so far. I mean, so whatever that role is, it has worked for them. It appears to be manipulative. It appears to be everything that everybody's afraid of, but it worked. The kid is great. He's tutored by one of the best ever to play his position, and he knows how to win. So is that a good thing or a bad thing? I'll take that as a good thing. But we also, listen, as a quarterback, you know who I would hire tomorrow for my quarterback?
Who's this?
You're not going to guess.
No, I'm not.
Pick one guess.
As a quarterback coach or a quarterback?
As a quarterback.
Joe Flacco.
No.
Who?
Get creative. Outside the box.
Ben.
Sidney Crosby.
Oh, did you see he made a throw at that McAfee thing?
Yes.
But it's what Letang said, though. Everything he does wonderfully.
It was great.
If that was a bowling alley and you had to pick one guy to throw a strike, he just isn't going to fail. If it was a dartboard and you had to pick one guy to throw a bullseye, he was going to do it because he doesn't fail. It's incredible.
So let's take that theorem and apply it to almost everything, but let's apply it. Why would we hire or draft somebody that has never been that guy? Why wouldn't I want the very, very best? Why would I want mediocre? Why would I want that?
All right. So you're telling me, is this Shadur Sanders v. Aaron Rodgers?
V. Mason Rudolph.
Okay.
My jury's still out on Kenny Pickett. I think he could surprise you. But
Mason Rudolph is a guy that I think is relegated to a backup role and knows it if somebody else comes in. So let's put that over here.
I know, but by default, he's going to end up as the QB1.
I don't know about that. I'm starting to warm to Shadur Sanders, and here's why.
Me too.
I think that the Steelers would rather take a chance on 5 or 8 years of Shadur Sanders than 1 or 2 years of Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, I agree with that. But how do you jump position to go get him, or do you really believe he's going to be available at the 23rd or whatever pick it is?
If he's not there and they see the board in the way that it's going, they could jump a few spots and use picks later on in the draft to trade those.
I think they're going to need a bigger pick than that. I think he's top 3, and I think the Steelers. But see, the Steelers have a lot of draft. I mean, TJ Watt he could go to Cleveland or Tennessee, and they could jump up and grab him that way. which then brings back, would you redesign? Would you go ahead and trade TJ Watt? I don't know. I don't know. The fan favorite answer is absolutely not. He's been great. My answer from a business perspective, and for business for him too, because I think he can get a really nice offer. So for him and for the Steelers, I think it would be best to trade him. I don't want to trade him, and I don't think he's. But I do think from a business perspective, it's the right move.
I wouldn't now because I already would have, and now the window's closed, and I don't know if you can maximize what the trade is. So that said, I would have
closed. Why do you think the window's closed?
Because I don't know if he can fetch in return what you could have fetched last year or the year before. I would have traded him last year or the year before.
But imagine if he had on one side you've got Myles Garrett and on the other side you've got TJ Watt. I mean, you're pretty dominant. And remember, we're talking about competing in the AFC North, right?
Yes.
So if everybody else has figured out how to neutralize TJ, and now you have TJ and Myles Garrett on one team, I mean, that'd be a big move. I really think that'd be a big move for Cleveland, and maybe they regain. They've also become an organization without a quarterback. Who, Cleveland?
Yes.
I'm telling you, Kenny Pickett's going to surprise you.
No.
Yes, he is. I'm telling you. Write it down. Write it down, please. I mean, he's going to surprise you. He really is. Listen, somewhere in there is a quarterback, okay? Mike Tomlin's a very smart guy. He didn't draft him in the first round for no reason. Something happened, okay? But there is the potential for that man to be a successful quarterback in the NFL. I really believe that. In the right system.
Maybe. I don't know. I've never believed it. I thought he was very average. His ceiling was average NFL quarterback.
Okay. So who would you rather have, him or Mason Rudolph?
Right now?
Yeah.
Mason Rudolph, because
Why?
Because I don't think Kenny Pickett's good.
Mason Rudolph threw how many balls downfield and everybody fell in love with him because he can throw long balls.
Well, that question's sort of one that's a non-starter for me, or one that is moot, because neither one of them on a good team is a starter.
Neither.
Right.
Except this is what, but what did they say about Sam Darnold? Same thing, right? He didn't perform. Nobody wanted him. Except he went to Minnesota and lit it up and I saw that in him.
Right.
I saw Ben Roethlisberger in him. And that's just a guy being in the wrong place at the wrong time in the wrong system.
Yeah, we'll see. I'm just starting to be very much sold on Shedeur Sanders if they can get him. At least the thought of, and it may not work, but the thought of boring ahead forward with a direction, going with it, having somebody that can throw and can run, and just moving ahead with it and taking a chance that this is our guy. Go.
And honestly, by reputation, by his parent, he becomes the franchise quarterback immediately.
As soon as he walks in the door.
100% agree.
I would agree with you. Now, that being said, you take the George Pickens sort of template, and they monkeyed around with him a little bit when I don't know if they should have, and should have made him wide receiver number 1, and that caused some dissension. So, and same thing with the offensive lineman from Georgia, that, you make him fight for a spot in camp in Broderick Jones. So I think that's part of the direction, is philosophically the Steelers need to change. And if they draft a big dog, it's okay to tell him he's a big dog the day he walks in the door.
Yeah, I agree with that. Remember, I think, and that's why I think they're going to do that, because for the past 2 years now, their biggest problem is putting points on the board.
Yes.
Not just win or lose. It's just they can't score, right? Average 16 points a game. I don't know. I'm not sure what it was last year, but it was probably similar. So they can't score. So they need that offensive focus. They need the 2025 offensive focus. They need to be able to do that, which is why George Pickens better not leave, which is because he's just insane, right? He's insane. And you put him with Shador and watch out. And then you got DK on the other side. Man, I'm telling you, we'll have a hell of an offense. We really
I agree.
will. And I think you have an offensive line that has matured and grown into their positions. I think you'll do great. However, that defensive line really needs some help. And the whole defense, because not only were we not scoring points, we were giving up way too many points in areas that we shouldn't.
Yeah, I'd agree to that. But I would take my chance that you're going to have a young offense that can do some things and just kind of hold it together on defense. I'm okay with that. Because in a capped league, you can't be great everywhere. It's almost an impossibility unless you draft great. So what you can do is you draft a quarterback, hope that he's good. You don't have to pay him really much for the first couple of years, and there you go. Because, and the other thing that it may do, if you draft Shedeur Sanders, I think more than Aaron Rodgers, you may keep George Pickens around and entice him to be here longer and get greatness out of him. And I don't think you're ever going to get greatness out of him with Aaron Rodgers and kind of a Band-Aid on a solution.
So,
and I'm not the biggest George Pickens fan as far as a human, but I am as far as a talent.
But I don't pay him to be on the football field as a human.
Correct.
I pay him to be on the football field as a superhuman in his sport. So we got that, but I still ask the question. It all pivots on a quarterback. It really does. So if you're really focused on Shedeur and that's your guy, what are you willing to give to get him? Are you willing to give nothing and just kind of wait it out?
No, the next 2 years, second round picks.
Okay. Would you give up George Pickens for him?
No.
Would you give up TJ Watt?
Actually, wait a minute. Yeah, now that Metcalf's here, yeah, I would.
Okay. So you'd give it, and that might be their play because that's pretty big draft capital right there. I would hate that move. But again, back to the boardroom and not the football field, it has credibility. I think it could happen. I would hate it to happen because I think with DK on one side and George on the other side, and a quarterback like Shedeur, man, that puts me with the Steelers really high, and I think I'd have really big expectations if we can fill the defensive line problem. And if we're going to the defensive line, I would say this about that. Who would you? I don't know the individuals that are available on the defensive line from the college football ranks. I'm not that intimate with them, but I'll tell you what the requirement would be. I want to hire Ray Lewis. Bring me a Ray Lewis and bring me somebody with that mentality, and that will be my new defensive lineman draft. I got to have that killer instinct.
I just want best available. The next guy, don't take a chance on somebody they think. No. Go down the list and take the next guy who is ranked the highest.
Who has that? But rank that the highest. I want a guy that wants to maim. I want the guy that wants to get in that football field and just can't wait. Loves the contact. Loves it. Is mean. He's nasty. I want that guy.
That's the weird part to me. Those guys come in all shapes and sizes, and they come in all temperaments. Like, there was never a bigger competitor than Aaron Smith, ever. But he didn't outwardly show it and wasn't, like, punching his own football helmet and jumping up and down all the time. He just steadily went about his job. So, and he just, every assignment was done to 100%. You take it like look at the offensive side of the ball. David DeCastro is one of the best offensive linemen the Steelers have ever had in history.
He also had that killer attitude.
Right. and he just kind of went about his business most of the time until something set him off. Then it would come out every once in a while.
Yeah, he had it.
So every guy that outwardly shows that every play isn't necessarily the best player.
Well, we'll just agree to disagree. That's who I would hire. I don't know that that's a theory that I could adapt and apply across the board. I think you might be right about.
Does today? Let me ask you this last thing though, in terms of a topic.
Yeah.
Are you totally dead on Aaron Rodgers? Because like after we got on the other side of that Pat McAfee show, and it didn't materialize there, Aaron Rodgers is a forgotten cause for me. I'm past it.
I don't like him. I don't want him. I'm hoping that he doesn't come. Yeah, he is a lost cause. He never was a found cause for me, ever. So, and I also said that I really believed that if he did play, he wouldn't make the full season. He would get hurt.
I can't argue with any of that. And I don't, the other part that I'll add on as an addendum item, I don't think he would make him much better and deviate the record much of what it would have been anyway.
Oh, it doesn't. He's irrelevant. He's a non-starter for me. The one thing, and you know, I had Russell Wilson spent some time in my office. We talked a little bit. We've gone back and forth on text. I got to tell you, and whether this breaks any confidences or not, but Russell Wilson was surprised
by the Steelers' lack of interest.
Yep, he was surprised.
That's interesting.
He was surprised, and really surprised because of the relationship on and off the field that he had with DK.
Well, for sure. I mean, he built that up over years.
So, and I'm not sure what that means when I say that I think he was surprised. I'm not sure. I don't know if they even talked to him. I mean, I don't know. It felt like, but then, and because I read this morning, I also read Justin Fields say he expressed his disgruntledness in Pittsburgh also. And, you know, but he said, hey, that's what Tomlin, he was benched. When you look at the numbers, and he was benched at 4 when he was 4-2, it really doesn't make sense, right? And then to go for the rest of the year and throw 5 passes for the rest of the year, it doesn't make sense. So unless you could really get inside the heads of our esteemed coaches and admin guys and Omar and everybody, I mean, they have knowledge we don't have, of course. So I just admit the information begs the question.
No, there's a lot of people are afraid to say it. I think there's a lot of mismanagement with the Pittsburgh Steelers. Or no, I think they go into seasons and they don't have a firm plan on things. At least they did last season.
I don't know if I'm not sure I can buy into that. I don't know. I mean, these guys, I know them. They're smart guys. They you know, you can't go in 17 years in the league and not have a plan when you go into the season. I don't buy that.
Well,
it seems that way, and it's great fodder for us, you know, talking about it. But I believe that what we don't know is what we don't know.
Fair point.
Right?
Yes.
I read a quote or listened to a quote today. And I loved the quote, and I want to make sure, and it's inspirational, I think, but it is something that I believe, and I'm looking for it right now.
Who's it by?
It is by a Miss America contestant.
Oh.
And it is by somebody who was given direction and said, you can be Miss whatever Miss was, and you can do that. And she went and tried it, and she was also in the service.
Okay.
And she said, we don't do that in the service. We don't compete for pageants. And she did. So they convinced her to do it one time, and she went and did it and lost. Went back and did it again, second time, and lost. Third time, lost. Fourth, fifth, and sixth time, lost. Lady that gave her that advice passed away in year 7. In year 7, she won.
Oh.
And her quote was, yeah, And what's her name? No, is that it?
Air Force.
No, that's not her. And I will tell you who she was, and I will tell you her quote. Deshauna Barber
Okay.
is her name. Do not fear failure, but please be terrified of regret.
Yeah, that's interesting. I don't know if I'd have gone back 7 times.
She did, and she won. Her name is Deshauna Barber, and the fact that she did that, I mean, and she's also in the service. Do not fear failure, but be terrified of regret. Take your shot. Go all in. Never stop. Never. If you want it, if you can conceive it, you can achieve it. That's, I mean, go. I'm surprised you were hesitant on that.
No, no, I'm not hesitant on it. That's a long time to try to accomplish the same thing is what I'm getting at.
But don't. James Harrison.
Right.
How many times?
Oh, a few, but like,
How many?
if James Harrison couldn't make it work in football, I don't know what he's going to make it work in.
But he didn't quit.
I get it. No, I'm not knocking this.
He was a walk-on. And
I
he got
get it.
cut. How many times did he get cut?
4, I think.
Yes.
Then he went and played in the World League or whatever.
Yes. Yes. If he would have quit 10 years from now, he looked back and said, I should have done that. I should have tried one more time. Do not fear failure.
Got it.
Be terrified of regret.
Yeah,
Oh,
no, I understand.
what
I
am
get it.
gonna do with you?
I'm just not a pageant person. I don't think I've ever.
He's back on pageant. Stop it.
Remember when that guy?
Yeah.
Remember when Steve
No.
Harvey? Remember when Steve Harvey announced the wrong person?
No.
Yes, that was like a big scandal.
No.
Yes, he announced the wrong winner.
No. No. I didn't.
100% that happened.
Okay. So what? What's that?
What
have
if-
to do with fearing failure?
Nothing. Well, I commend the lady who was in the Air Force. What's her name? Deshaun something?
Forget it. I withdraw.
Oh, good on her.
I'm not eligible to have this talk with you.
What did she do differently the 7th time, though? That's what I want to read about.
I don't know. Maybe she had a facelift. Who knows?
No.
I'm kidding. What the hell do I know?
And who was the lady?
She didn't quit.
No, obviously she
Oh
didn't.
my God. I think we're going down the wrong path here.
No,
This was supposed to be inspirational.
It is. It inspires me to ask questions. I want to know what was her number that she would have quit? 8, 9, 10?
We'll call her and ask her.
All right. Well, I'll talk to you
No,
next
I'm
week.
done. We're not going to talk next week. I can't talk to you.
Bye.